I'm sorry, I can't go through with this because I can't get it off my mind, Allison. It's obsessing me.
Oh, I'm getting tired of it. I need your attention.
It doesn't make any sense. He drove past the book depository, and the police said conclusively that it was an exit wound. So how is it possible for Oswald to have fired from 2 angles at once? It doesn't make sense.
Alvy.
I'll tell you this. He was not marksman enough to hit a moving target at that range. But if there was a second assassin, that's it.
We've been through this.
They recovered the shells from that rifle.
Okay. All right. Then what are you saying now? That everybody on the Warren Commission is in on this conspiracy, right?
Well, why not?
Yeah. Earl Warren.
Hey, honey, I don't know Earl Warren.
Lyndon Johnson.
Lyndon Johnson is a politician. You know the ethics those guys have. It's like a notch underneath child molester.
Then everybody's in on the conspiracy. The FBI and the CIA and J. Edgar Hoover and oil companies and the Pentagon and the men's room attendant at the White House.
I would leave out the men's room attendant.
You're using this conspiracy theory as an excuse to avoid sex with me.
Oh, my God. She's right. Why did I turn off Alison Porchnick? She was beautiful, she was willing, she was real intelligent. Is it the old Groucho Marx joke that I just don't want to belong to any club that would have someone like me for a member?
Are we crazy?
That's one of my favorites. You know, it's funny that the Kennedy assassination has resorted to being a comedy routine. Seinfeld did it, you know, the magic bullet. You've seen that Seinfeld version. This, there's a couple other comedy bits where they discuss the Kennedy assassination and how ludicrous it is because of the single bullet. Now, we're not going to have time to talk about the single bullet today, but I always like to show that because it just shows how silly the whole thing is. Not the death of the president, but the routine mindset of the group think that it has to be, as the government said in 1963, we trusted the government. I was 7 years old, and I was in school, in the Orland Park Elementary School, 2nd grade, and our teacher, it's cursive writing time, and the teacher, Mrs. Frank, stopped because the intercom came on, and the principal said that President Kennedy had been, we had reports over the radio that President Kennedy had been shot. Not that he was dead, but he was shot. This was about 1 o'clock or so Central Time. And I remember they let us out of school. We all got to go home. It was an early weekend. As a 7-year-old, you don't know what the politics are and who the president is or what it means. But when I came into my house, unexpectedly, my mother had been crying. She was ironing a shirt for my dad, and she was crying, and I didn't know why. I went out and played, didn't worry about it, didn't think about it. And then Sunday, we were watching the funeral, or was it, yeah, that was Sunday, no, that was Monday. Sunday, we were watching television, and I'm sitting on the floor, and my dad and mother on either side of me, and when they bring Oswald out, of course, we don't know what the scene is. It's just you know, there's a bunch of people standing around and they see this guy being brought out in handcuffs or appears to be, you know, being escorted. And the next thing you know, he's shot. And I remember vividly, like my dad just said it 10 minutes ago, he said, there's something wrong now and I will never know what happened. I think in the back of my little brain, that's what made me start looking at that. And then they bought, the Associated Press put out, or the Kansas City Star put out a little thin hardback book called The Torch Is Past, and then it's a big picture book. And my dad bought that for us, and I looked through that thing. I stared at those pictures for hours and hours, trying to figure out, you know, what's going on in those pictures, and what does it all mean, and how did this happen, and why did the man get shot? So I was telling Katie that book that you had, the Sylvia Mars book, Accessories After the Fact, was one of the first 2 books I ever read. My copy is being held with spring clips because I tore apart. Rusted Judgment and the Sylvia Mar book were the first ones that opened my eyes there's something wrong. I mean, I wasn't smart enough to know how to figure it out, but I knew there was something, you know, why would one guy kill the President of the United States? He's a powerful man, why would he kill him? So, ever since then, I think almost every day since then, I'm 62 years old, do the math, I was 7 and 62 or whatever, there's not one day that hasn't gone by that I don't read, look on the internet, talk to somebody, or write something about the assassination. I guess it's just in my blood. That scene, there's a scene in the movie JFK, and I always, whenever we showed that to our kids, I'd always elbow Casey, and I go, well, that's you, isn't it? Because, you know, I'll give you 10 minutes to solve the case, and then it's in your mind, you know, and he goes, okay, and then he runs into the room, and the next thing he knows, it's 6 o'clock in the morning, and he's still reading, and I thought, that's Casey Quinlan, that's why he got divorced. So, anyway, what I want to share with you today is, I want to talk about the photographers in Dealey Plaza. I want to show you some of the pictures that some of you may have never seen before. And then we're going to talk about the medical evidence. And then I want to talk about, as you were talking with David and Casey about the photographic anomalies, and there's something's been edited out of this picture and added to this picture. I have some evidence of that I want to show with my presentation. So let's do photographers. One of my hobbies, I guess, is since I was in 9th grade, I picked up a camera and kind of have basically had a camera strapped around my neck all the time. Photography to me is, the photographs, little did I know that photographs could be manipulated, but some of the early pictures that show the president in the motorcade and after the fact are important to at least get a foundation of what it looked like, what it was supposed to look like. So we're going to go from Love Field, we're going to make the circuit, we're going to go all the way back to Love Field. And you already know, most of you are aware that President Kennedy visited 4 cities in 3 days in Texas, and the last stop was was it the next to last stop was going to be Dallas, or was they going to go to Austin?
Austin afterwards.
Yeah. So Love Field, they fly from Fort Worth to Love Field, Dallas, and they touch down at 11:40. And how do I make this go, David?
Turn the button on the side that says on off.
There you go.
Sorry.
It's all right. That's a great shot of the president. Governor Connolly is in the background behind Jackie. When the president got there, and you know that, or if you don't know, I'll tell you, the South was not real big supporters. Some folks in the South didn't like President Kennedy because of the issues that he was trying to change about civil rights, and David's already talked about those things. So there was a mixture of hatred and mixture of admiration, and wanted to see most of the women probably wanted to see Jackie, and you know the president, oh well, he's there too, but we want to see Jackie because Jackie hasn't been out in public since her miscarriage, and so this was our first trip with the president. So these are just some pictures at the Love Field. They greeted the crowd. Thousands of people were at the airport. Here's the where's the pointer? There's the president, obviously. Greer, Clint Hill, Stu, here's a Secret Service agent here, Dallas PD guy. So anyway, they're milling around the crowd, they shake hands. Unexpectedly, the president starts moving towards the crowd, and the Secret Service was trying to hustle him into the car and stay on time because they're about 10 minutes late. And if you know anything about the Secret Service protocol, they need to be on time. Things are in place. You have to be, you know, we have to be walking in the Trade Mart at 11 or at 12:45, and if not, there's going to be, you know, it may be some issues that we'll have to deal with. For those of you that don't know, I was a police officer in Lawrence, Kansas for 22 years, and two different times I worked with Secret Service for presidential VIP protection. One was with Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton came to Lawrence to do a mock vote, and is that good? And I was stationed on top of the City Hall in Lawrence at 6th and West 6th Street in Vermont, or not Vermont, God, it's been a long time. 6th Street, City Hall, with a Secret Service agent. I was up there with my rifle, and we were told that we were taking our orders from the Secret Service, who were in charge of the motorcade, and Hillary Clinton arrived at the small airport in Lawrence, drove across the river bridge of the Kansas River, and we're on their way to the University of Kansas. And the Secret Service told us that if somebody tries to stop the motorcade, that we should take whatever lethal action we should deem necessary. Well, it would be real tough for that to have happened because we closed the bridges off. There's no vehicular traffic and there's no pedestrian traffic, but anyway. And the other time was when Senator Bob Dole came to Kansas University to dedicate the Dole Center. And Secret Service, we worked with them. But anyway, my point was the Secret Service, very time-oriented. Things have to be, they've got it all planned out when things are going to be in a certain spot. Clint Hill in the glasses, and behind Jackie Kennedy, she is here, he is the primary protector of Jackie Kennedy. She asked for him to be on the trip, and the Secret Service agents, Greer and Kellerman, Mrs. Kennedy, the president, supposedly keeping an eye on. I don't know how you'd ever do that with all these people. They're going to get into this limousine. This is a specially built from Lincoln Ford, and Lincoln Mercury company in Dearborn, Michigan. They put this limousine together. It's a stretch limousine, and it can hold anywhere from 8 to 9 people. It was flown in the same day as the president's airplane arrived. But they're lined up at the airport. There's about 20-some cars in this motorcade, plus 2 large, big tour buses, dignitaries, financial supporters or whatever. But I show you this picture because it's the best evidence that there's nothing wrong with that limousine. I mean, it's clean, it's waxed, it's not bulletproof, but there are safety precautions on the vehicle that normally would not have occurred had it not been built for the Secret Service. Anyway, the windshield is the key picture. This is the reason I showed this. There is no cracks, there is no holes, there is no imperfections in that glass. All the glass is intact. When they get to the hospital, there was a obvious fracture on the windshield, and we'll talk about that when we get to Parkland. But this is the best picture of that. I don't know who this guy is. I have no idea who that's a press guy, but I don't know who these other guys are. I assume they're somebody that could be in close proximity to the limousine. This is the interior shot of the limousine, and these are jump seats that they will fold down. Mrs. Connolly and the governor will sit here. Mrs. Kennedy and the president will sit here. Driver and the other Secret Service agent will be up front, obviously. This is the chrome piece that the top would snap onto. The top was not bulletproof. It was plexiglass. It was clear, but it was also protecting. It's an inclement weather protecting. It's not bulletproof. The other thing I'd like to show in this picture is the windows are almost all the way up. When they get to Dealey Plaza, the windows on that side are almost more than halfway down. You can tell the difference that they're not up in Dealey Plaza, but they are here at Love Field. I don't know whether that's anything sinister to make out of that. I'm just saying, somebody rolled the windows down on that side of the car. There is the Cadillac. Oh, I forgot to tell you. This is a Lincoln. It's not a Cadillac. It's not a Volkswagen. It's not a Pontiac. It's a Lincoln. This is the follow-up car. This is a Cadillac. 1959 touring sedan that they specially outfitted for the Secret Service, and it follows the limousine as close as practical. And the car, the limousine, I can't remember the code name for the limousine. But this is the Queen Mary, and I can't, anyway, it's not important, but it's always bugged me, I can't remember that.
It's not Lancer, is it?
No, that's his code.
J&K, yeah.
But this is, most of the 9 people in that car, 7 of them were Secret Service agents. 2 of them were not. One was Dave Powers, the president's special assistant, and the other one was, the names, it's not important. But there's 2 civilians, and there's seven Secret Service agents, 2 civilians in the car. Dave Powers, by the way, did have a motion picture camera with him, and he was filming from the time they left Love Field until they got just about to Dealey Plaza, and then he ran out of film. Can you imagine what we would have had if he would have filmed it from behind? Speaking of that, the press, every time there had been a motorcade of any significance, the press was always assigned, and you can see the press in this picture, they're all over the place. They were assigned, they were going to be riding on a flatbed truck in front of the limousine to record any action, historic purposes. Well, when they got ready to roll out of Love Field, some of the press people, X100, you're right, thank you. That's the code name for the president's limousine, X100. The flatbed truck had not arrived, and the press, for the most part, were relegated to open convertibles or the press bus. The press bus was at the very back end of the motorcade. So, I don't know if that was done on purpose, but somebody rearranged the sequence of cars. So, anyway, that's Conley standing up in the car. He's going to be nearly fatally wounded in this. In my mind, from a law enforcement standpoint, he's a person of interest. He's the one that arranged for this motorcade to be in Dallas. He's the one that pleaded with President Kennedy. He and Johnson pleaded with President Kennedy. You've got to come through Dallas, because if you just go to the other cities, they're going to think you snubbed them, and it's an important part of this political tour we're on. Well, okay, whatever. He's a player. So the limousine's about ready to roll out. Every car in this caravan had a designated number where it would slide into the caravan. And I'll show you in just a minute that the president's car would normally, as the leader of the free world, he would be the first car or second car in the motorcade. Well, on this day, he was supposed to be the 7th car. There's a little sticker number 7 I'll show you. It's in the window. Every car had a sticker in sequence. When the motorcade took out, they were the 2nd car. They're no longer the 7th car, now they're number 2. The only car in front of them is a sedan driven by the chief of police. The sheriff is in the passenger seat, and then the 2 advanced agents of the Secret Service are in the car. This is the part that just boggles my mind. Chief of police is, I'll show you that picture. The chief of police is driving a enclosed sedan, half a block to a block ahead of the motorcade to make sure that there's nothing in the way. Everything's good. In the passenger seat is a Secret Service agent, Winston Lawson, who done the advanced work that, here's the route we're going to take. Behind him is the chief, or the Dallas head of the Secret Service, Forrest Sorrells. And behind the driver is the sheriff of Dallas County, Bill Decker. And if you want to read something funny, it's tragically funny, read the testimony of Winston Lawson and Forrest Sorrells. Their job was, according to what they testified to the government, were that as the passenger in the front seat of this closed car, my job was to look behind me, between the 2 heads of the men behind me, and make sure everything is okay in the back of the motorcade. The agent in the back right or left rear seat behind the driver was to look forward and make sure everything ahead of him is okay. That makes no sense at all. But that was their job. They testified to that. Why not put them in an open convertible so they can see up and around? They didn't do that. So we're taken out. Person of interest, this guy here and this guy here. Secret Service agents. Bill Greer is the driver. Roy Kellerman is the one that controls a lot of the actions in the car. Dallas Morning News, front page below the fold. On the day of the assassination, it printed the motorcade route down Harwood to Maine, under the triple underpass. You notice the word Elm Street is nowhere on that paper. Elm Street was a last-minute alteration of that motorcade. I know that because I read the testimony of Chief Jesse Curry, the Dallas Police Chief, who said that 2 weeks before the assassination, Winston Lawson came to our city with another agent, I can't think of his name, and we made a visual aerial, we took an aerial idea of where you want to go. We know we want to go here, we have to start here, we want to end up here. And what's the most direct route with the most visibility? And here's the route. Jesse Curry testified to the government that he got in his little personal police car with Forrest Sorrells and Winston Lawson and drove them from Love Field along this route, and at the intersection of Houston and Maine, rather than make the right turn towards the book depository, the chief of police testified that he said, I just said from here it's right straight down Maine to the highway. And he said, they said that's fine. We made a U-turn and went back to City Hall and made the preparations. On the day of the assassination, when that motorcade, that first car got to Maine and Houston, they all turned right. If I was the Secret Service driver responsible for driving the President of the United States, and we make a turn that I didn't know anything about, I would probably not turn. That's not where we're supposed to go. I don't know, we don't know if that's secure over there, but they did it anyway. And there's a close-up. Nowhere on Elm Street is that's not mentioned in this paper. However, the evening paper, the Dallas Times-Herald, had a revised motorcade route. Well, that's like John Madden diagramming the play after it's over with. Well, he went over here and then boom, he went there. Well, yeah, the Times-Herald could write down, well, he went down Main Street, then he turned on to Houston, and they turned on to Elm Street. But he didn't, it's not in the paper. Didn't say that in the paper. So here's some photographs of the motorcade in transit. Look how close these people are to the side of it. Here is the sticker in the window. Close up of it, number 7. They were supposed to be the 7th car in the line. They weren't. Before that motorcade left Dealey Plaza, things in the motorcade security protection detail changed. Some of you may have seen this before.
Crowd swarming around the President and First Lady. That's the official party, not the general public, who is not allowed out beyond the restraining fence here at Love Field. Now they're heading over to the car. Partially obscured from our sight at the moment. People breaking away now, running over to get behind other fences to catch a better glimpse of the caravan as it will leave here shortly and go to downtown Dallas. The President is up to the fence now, shaking hands with people. The President and his wife are right up on the fence. The press is standing up high, getting a lot of shots of this. He's done as he has done in several places. He's broken away from his planned plan and gone right up to the fence to shake hands with people. This is great for the people and makes the eggshells even thinner for the Secret Service, whose job it is to guard the man. But the audience loves this. Mrs. Kennedy's beautiful pillbox hat was the only thing that gave it away. I saw the hat, and I knew they were there. And, of course, the press going high and shooting right down below as the president and his wife kind of moving along the gate. People yelling at them, people running on the inside now trying to come down to this end of the gate, this end of the fenced-off area, hoping that the president and his wife will move along the fence. People out with cameras just holding them up and snapping away and hoping to get a picture out of their very own camera of the president and his wife. President still walking along that inside fence, shaking hands, talking with people who have come out to greet him. They didn't expect this. Now as he becomes more visible down to this end, the people cheer. And here they come, right down toward us. I can see Mrs. Kennedy. And they're going to come right on down and shake hands with everybody. Mrs. Kennedy gave a lovely smile and a wave at that time. Mrs. Kennedy right up. There's the president shaking hands with the people. He's waving at a lot of people, smiling, Secret Service men all around. Boy, this is something. They break right away and come right up to the fence, and the people who waited all morning in this fence are rewarded with a glimpse, and a lot of them with a close look and a handshake with the President of the United States and his wife. And he's coming right down toward us and toward our fine camera positions here. The press is having a field day. Somebody perched up on somebody's shoulders. President saying, "Thank you very much. If I may be permitted to read a presidential lip movement." This is a bonus for the people who have waited out here. Now, Mrs. Kennedy, right along behind him. President still moving over towards some phone booths that were set up for the press. The people surging up toward that fence. But there is a fence, and the president waves goodbye, waits for his wife, and back they go to the car. Governor Conley standing in the car beaming. Governor Conley with a big 10-gallon hat on. Mrs. Kennedy stepping in the car first. Now the president. They both in the back seat now. Now the motorcade will very shortly start to move out. Sheriff Bill Decker, Dallas County Sheriff, driving his own car, personally escorting it with the chief of police, the presidential car moving out, the president and first lady. Big, beautiful Lincoln, followed by a carload of press. Secret Service men, the car behind. Then comes the Vice President and Mrs. Johnson, Senator Yarborough. Now people over in this area are getting a chance to see the president. That motorcade will swing way around, go by the Continental.
So, before they even left Love Field, there's a change in security.
Major change, too.
You know. And so some of the pictures that I've collected here are just showing you the magnitude of the crowd. Thousands and thousands of people lining the streets. How would, I've always wondered, how would somebody back here even see anything over here? I mean, this is Main Street. Look at the people. How would you ever protect the president in an open limousine from a crowd like that? There's buildings all up and down Main Street. Windows open. People are leaning out of them. Violation of Secret Service protection orders. I don't know how they even decided that this was a good thing. This is one of 4 pictures that Clint Hill, Mrs. Kennedy's primary agent here, is on the back of the limousine. My question would have been, well, if something prompted Agent Hill to get on the back of the limousine to be in closer proximity to Mrs. Kennedy, why aren't these guys doing the same thing? I mean, I'm sure Mrs. Kennedy was a nice lady. I mean, she was a mother and a wife and a daughter, but she doesn't have the nuclear codes in her head that somebody would want to get to her. If you're going to get to somebody, you get to the guy in the seat next to her. But why is none of the agents that guard President Kennedy, they're not even looking at him. They're looking over here. Have you ever seen a Secret Service agent in real life when they're watching their protectee? There's 5 guys around the perimeter of the president. They don't look at anything except that man. And wherever he moves, they're moving with him. The outer perimeter, those guys watch the crowd. And the outer perimeter watches the outside of the crowd. So you've got 3 perimeter points where these guys are watching. These guys aren't even watching the protectee. Look at all these people right here.
They get in the way.
What's that?
They get in the way of the bullet.
Yeah. They don't want to get too close. But look at, there's people here on the fire escape, there's people on the roof. I mean, there's no way to protect all of these people. This is an important picture because it shows not only how close the limousine was to the follow-up car, or how follow-up car was close to the limousine, but it shows 2 important things. These are Dallas motorcycle officers. They were assigned to ride. They were assigned to ride along the back. They were told before the motorcade started not to get close to the car. Don't get past the rear wheel. We want people to see the man. Every officer that's done motorcades before, they go, well, that's not the way we do it. That's what you want. The other important part of this picture is this is Clint Hill with sunglasses, and in his jacket, it appears to be a large rectangle of some kind. That's a bulletproof vest he's wearing. Back in the 60s, a bulletproof vest was not Kevlar like I wore, flexible, you move. This thing was a ballistic plate. From here to here, that square, and if you fell down with that thing on, you'd probably have to have help getting up. It doesn't bend, it's a flat piece of steel. It's like the old armor knights, you know, the knights with the shields. He's the only one that ever wore a vest that day. Nobody else ever asked for a vest. They had vests on the airplane for the agents. He's the only one that got one. I have the receipt or the order from the chief of the officer of the day who's in charge of the equipment. He wrote and said, please provide 1 ballistic vest. And he wrote his name, Clint Hill. Why is he the only one that did anything? He's the only one that took action in Dealey Plaza, and he's the only one that had a bulletproof vest on. Did he know something in advance? I don't know. Would you say this is a secure motorcade procession? I don't think so. Can you imagine you're on the bus going to work and go, hey Martha, look, there's what's his name, that guy, you know? Look at these people. I mean, the motorcycle officers had all testified that, you know, there were so many people, they were hitting the handlebars as they were driving by, and they almost got knocked over. There are several points in the motorcade where the driver has the door open, acting it like a wedge to keep people back.
Is this going down the street they weren't supposed to go down?
No, this is Main Street right here, yeah. But look how close these people are. They take 2 steps, they're in the car. I realize, and people always get on me about, you know, well, that was 1963. You know, I understand that. But the basic protocol for protection of the President of the United States has not changed since 1963. That's the man you got to protect. But you don't allow this to happen. You don't allow this to happen. You fill the street up with volunteers, reserve officers, keep everybody back. And we don't go 12 miles an hour. In this photograph, the flags on the car are straight back. Either one of two things, either they're driving very fast or it's windy. I'm gonna go with it's windy, because we know they're not going very fast. How fast is the limo traveling in this picture? It's almost parked. Either that or there's no wind. I don't know. Motorcycle officers on the back, do not ride forward of the rear tire. Those flags are not moving. Couple other shots. Now we get to the photographers. James Outkins, and I'm going to try to do this in sequence of where they were at when the motorcade first got into Dealey Plaza. You've already been kind of schooled about where Dealey Plaza is. This is the old red courthouse. This is the sheriff's department and office administration for the county. This is the jail, county jail. This is the Daltex building, it's an office building. Zapruder's office was in here on the 4th floor. Texas School Book Depository, Houston, Elm, Grassy Knoll, railroad switching tower, parking lot, railroad overpass. Okay, we all know what we're talking about. James Outkins, the United Press International photographer, stood at the corner here and the presidential limousine came down the street. As soon as it made the turn, he took a few more shots and then ran down here and positioned himself on Elm Street. Well, how did he know that car was going to turn? I thought the newspaper said that it was going to go straight down Main Street. Well, I guess when he figured out it made a turn, the only place they could go would be back to the left. So he ran that direction. These are the pictures that he took before the car made the turn onto Houston Street. The agents are looking above, which is good, but their protectee is down here, not up there, it's down here. That's why you have supplemental people doing the observations of the high points. These people here, leaning out the window. There's no way that they could cover this. This is the second photograph that Outkins took. Cars turned on Houston Street. This is Ready, Hill, Target. Don't hit the lady in pink. Connolly and his wife. Daltex building, jail, county records building. Look at this guy on a fire escape up here. Great spot for observation, but you wouldn't want him up there unless if you were in a closed car, you wouldn't matter.
How about that laundry truck?
Yeah, that laundry truck, we're going to talk about that in a second. Richard Boffin was basically in the same position as Mr. Outkins, and he ran the same direction that Outkins did. And it's almost a mirror of what he took, what Outkins took. This is, this is Sergeant Harkness, Dallas PD, traffic officer. He's got a white hat. You can tell he's a good guy. Got a white hat. There's video that we have is just as the motorcade comes in, just as the president's car comes into view, somebody moves a barrier, one of those construction barriers with the horse, you know, the sawhorse and the wooden part, drags it out, blocks Main Street. They have to go right. Everybody has to go right now. And I use the analogy as it's like the elephants in the circus. You got the trunk tied to the tail of the one in front of you. Everybody turns, you're going to turn too. Otherwise you'll be out by yourself. So you're going to follow the leader. So we make the turn. As soon as this picture was taken, Mr. Boffin ran down to the south end of the knoll. Mr. Weaver was on the opposite side of the street and took this picture as the car turned the corner. And we were looking right up Elm Street, right up Houston Street, right towards the book depository. Open window. This is all kind of overexposed. We can't see too much about that. This guy was a professional photographer. You'd think he would have been able to get that better, but it's overexposed. You can't see very much. Phil Willis was almost in that same position. As soon as the motorcade turned, he took some pictures. He took pictures from Maine and Houston as the car turned. Following the president's motorcade, president's car, Secret Service follow-up car, the next car carries the Vice President of the United States. Nowhere in the history of our country has the Vice President of the United States been in the same proximity as the President of the United States while in transit. One's either back in Washington, in case something happens, or in a different location. They're not 40 feet apart. If you want to kill the head of the state, throw a bomb and kill them all. Agent, 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 and then somewhere in here's Dave Powers and Kenny O'Donnell, presidents. This is Willis number 5. This is the one that's supposedly this is the best exposed picture that Mr. Willis took that day. He was using slide film, but he's using Ektachrome, which is for low light conditions. That's probably why that's overexposed. But there's a lot of stuff going on in this picture. We've already touched on the umbrella guy. He's right there. The guy next to him is we call the Cuban, or he's a dark complected male. Zapruder is up here on this pedestal. Behind him is his secretary, Marilyn Sitzman. The whole story of him having vertigo and then climbing up 4.5 feet up off the ground makes no sense to me whatsoever. If you have vertigo, why would you get off the ground? Doesn't make sense. You probably don't ride in an elevator, probably don't climb a high building on a ladder. But here he is, 4.5 feet off the ground, but he says he's got vertigo, so he asked his secretary to stand behind him. But in this photograph, she's not standing behind him, she's standing to the side of him. So apparently his vertigo comes and goes or something, I'm not sure. What's important in this picture is these two agents, this agent and this agent, are looking this direction. Remember, the book depository is up here, behind and 70 feet up in the air. President Kennedy is here, clearly not hit, not reacting to anything, not in distress, there's no problems. But something happened that made those agents, in unison, turn to the right. I don't know what it was, I can only speculate. I believe it was some type of diversion, like a firecracker or an explosive device of something. And if you've seen the movie JFK as many times as Casey and I have, there's a scene in there where they say, Joe Pesci says, we'll get the crowd looking the other way, and boom, we'll get the kill shot. I think that's what you're about ready to see here. You got a diversion, people are looking the other way. By the time they look back, half his head's gone. Where'd that come from? I don't know. Didn't you see it? I thought you were looking. I wasn't looking. This is after the fact. The motorcade's already gone. There's a lot of action going on in this picture. Kind of out of sequence, but the motorcade went underneath the underpass. There's the man that we call the Cuban, or the dark complected male. He's sitting next to the umbrella guy. Everybody is going every which way except these two guys.
Hey, see the guy there that's walking with the,
The guy's a shoe shine guy, black male,
At the
shoe shine
courthouse.
guy at the courthouse. He was standing there, and you see him in the Zapruder film. He's waving and moving back and forth. Then he just walks away. Jim Towner, we showed Jim Towner, or Tina Towner. The Towner family was standing on the corner of Elm and Houston, and as the car turned to their left, from their right to left, Mr. Towner took this nice color, good slide, perfectly exposed almost. But in the background, parked the very first street, parked on Elm Street, is a laundry truck. And these people are standing across Elm Street, so there's no way this guy is going to get through anyway. They block the street, vehicular traffic, and the people, allow the people to stand on Elm Street, or on Houston and Elm. Bundles and bundles of laundry probably up here. what are the odds of that laundry truck being the first car at the intersection when the motorcade comes through? And what a great place to put a prone gunman than right up on top of that. Your elevated position, no civilians are going to be in the way. You're looking straight down Elm Street, and you're covered with your own suppression device, if you will, laundry. If there's laundry in there, I don't know. I think that's a shooting spot. If I was going to do this tactically, I'd put somebody up there. But just what would happen if I don't get to be the first car? Well, you're going to have to make sure you're the first car. Again, this is the motorcade's already going through. This is the rest of the press people. They're coming through. They're in convertibles. They're way at the back of the line. By the time they turn onto Houston Street, it's over with. They don't have anything to take pictures of.
And they don't know what's going on either.
They don't have a clue. They hear noises, but they don't know it's gunfire. Some of them even sound like somebody threw a firecracker or a big, like an M80 or something. Apparently this officer thought there was something wrong because he pulled his gun out, and I don't know what he's going to point it at, but I was a cop for 22 years and 7 months or 6 months. I pulled my gun out maybe a dozen times, and that was to defend myself or another person. Here's a guy pulling out a gun with all these people running around. What's he gonna? What is he gonna shoot at? Does he see anything? I don't know. Wilma Bond was almost at the corner of Main and Houston, and when the motorcade turned, she simply turned around and took several steps and then shot the rest of her pictures through the pergola, the concrete wall here. These are pristine as pictures I've ever had of this. These are actually as she took them. These are first generation copies. Look at these people in the window here. All those windows should have been locked down, the blinds drawn, and you can't stand there. Anyway, so Wilma's taking her, that's out of sequence, that should be first. Man and woman standing over here, man and woman, 18, 19-year-old kid and his wife, Arnold and Betty Rowland, were on Houston Street. This is the courthouse, the sheriff's department and administrative buildings for the county. About 12:15, Mr. Rowland, with the book depository on his right, nothing to watch, nothing's happening yet. He looks up and he sees a man with appears to be a rifle against his chest, leaning out of the window, leaning back into the shadow, and he stepped out to the sunlight and looked through the window and come back at an open window. And honey, look, there's a Secret Service guy up there or a security guy up there. She said in her testimony, she says, well, I looked, but she says, I didn't see anything because about that time we heard the sirens and then the president's car came through. What's interesting is that Mr. Rowland wasn't talking about the 6th floor sniper window where Lee Oswald supposedly was. He's talking about the west side of that building on the front. He's talking about an entirely farthest west part of that building. Same floor, not the corner, but the opposite side. And they bring Mr. Rowland, tell me this makes any sense. He testifies, but yet Bill and Gail Newman, who are 12 feet from the car, they don't testify. This guy's over probably 300 or 400 yards from or 300 or 400 feet from the car when it got shot at. And they call him to testify, and the most important part of his testimony is, tell us when's the last time you had your eyes examined? I swear that's what they asked him. Well, why would you want to know that? Well, did you have glasses on? I don't wear glasses. Well, it says here in your driver's license thing, it says your eyes are, blah, blah, you know, you're really bad eyes. Do you want to hear what I have to say, or do you want to talk about my eyes? They asked more questions about his vision than what he saw. Was that done on purpose? Of course it was. They didn't care what he saw. Because if you didn't see Lee Harvey Oswald shoot from the 6th floor corner window, you didn't see anything. We don't care. Motorcade's already gone through. most of the cars are coming through, less 4 or 5 cars are left. That's a policeman. Book depository's over here. Where are you going? Mary Mormon, Gene Hill, Charles Brim, Joey Brim. I'm not sure who that is. I don't know. Nothing against the lady who says she was there. I don't know. The jury's still out on for me. This is Officer Hargis. This is Officer Corson or McLean, I'm not sure. The Newmans are on the ground because the shot went over their head. They're protecting their children. This is James Alkins. This is, what's her name?
Well, she was misnamed too, and she never came forward. But they thought it was
Mary Woodward.
Mary Woodward, but it's not Mary Woodward. A woman who came forward said, "This is my mom." Her mom was deceased, but she said, and we have her name, I don't have it for you right now, but and she showed pictures of her mom back then wearing the same outfit. She goes, "That's my mom. I'm trying to figure out what she was doing in Dealey Plaza." It's her mom, and it's not Mary Woodward. Mary Woodward's down the line.
Yeah, she was a Dallas Morning News
Yeah.
reporter and went back and wrote her impressions, and they killed the story before they printed it. Because this was going to be the evening paper. And they killed the story before it was even published because it didn't conform with what they were already told. This was that evening. How did they know what to tell? She was going to tell an account, an eyewitness account. They wouldn't let her do it. There was 3 men on this. There's a set of steps. For those of you who have not been there, there's a set of steps on the sidewalk that go up. There's a landing, then they go up to the top of this landing, and then you can walk around the fence to the parking lot. There were 3 men. One of the men was Emmett Hudson, and the groundskeeper of Dealey Plaza, African-American man, and he said 2 men stood with him as they watched the motorcade. They are now on the ground, on their butts, because Emmett Hudson said one of the shots went right over our heads. The book depository is over here. Over your head means in this area. Doesn't take a brilliant investigator to figure that out. These people said the shot came over their head. These people said the shot came over their head. This guy's running that direction. These people were in the line of fire. This guy's in the line of fire. This guy was at Normandy, for God's sakes. You think he knows what a gunshot sounds like? Probably does. They all said the same thing. It came from across the street. This sequence, this photo, the Newmans are up on their feet. Everybody's rushing this direction. You know, it's like in high school. Hey, there's a fight. Everybody run. Let's go watch. But these are civilians. They're like you guys. I would run that way because that's what I was trained to do. That's what I get paid to do. But these are civilians, and they're all running that direction. Is there a reason for that? Is there a group think that maybe we got somebody and, hey, let's go beat the shit out of this guy? I don't know why they were running that direction. Again, the Newmans are off their feet. Here comes the press bus, almost to the last of the motorcade. This is the guy with the umbrella. He's right there. Everybody's moving this direction. Well, the people that are moving this direction, except this guy. He had been sitting on the curb with his buddy, and then when everybody starts moving, they get up and they walk different directions. I wasn't the smartest cop that ever came out of the academy, but that's suspicious to me. There's something wrong with that. It just doesn't look normal. Jim Towner, we just showed you that. I don't know why I did that again. Hugh Betzner, this is the Towner family. Hugh Betzner was in right behind the Towners and took this picture. And then he shot this one. Again, you can see the agents are looking this direction. These guys are looking, I don't know where the hell they're looking, but look at these people here. They're all looking this direction. The book depository is up here. Normally, people are inquisitive. What was that? That's how I get, David didn't mention, but right now I'm a private investigator. I do a lot of surveillance work on folks that do things that they shouldn't be doing. And sometimes I'll pull up next to somebody that I'm watching at a gas station, and they walk in, and I'll get a good face shot. When they come out, I honk my horn, and they look up, and I get a great face shot of them. People look at, that's what they do. They go, what was that? Little tricks of the trade.
Yeah, we used to do stuff like that in high school. I would get a class and I'd say, okay, we're gonna stage something out in front of my classroom. And I said, I want you people on the outside, I want you to observe what's going on. We're gonna start a fight right here, and I want you to see who comes in and sees this fight and eggs it on. Oh man, it's absolutely amazing.
David?
And nobody was throwing any punches, we just did it. And people would just come in, and you would have agitators that say, go ahead and hit him, I'll hit him. You know, go ahead and hit him. I'm going, who the hell are these guys, you know? But, yeah.
Mary Mormon and her good friend, I could have done that, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Mary Mormon and Gene Hill were friends. They were both grade school teachers, and they rode down to the plaza together in Mary's car. And Mary she had a Polaroid camera, and she took 2 or 3 pictures before they got to their location on Elm Street. And here's the camera. We all know what Polaroids do. You take the picture, you pull the thing out, and you put the goop on it, and you hold it flat until it gets set, and then you can take another picture. No motor drive, it's not, you can't take multiple pictures. You take a picture, pull the thing out, and you can take another picture. Well, fortunately, she saved her exposure for the right moment. This is the first 2 pictures she took. They parked on Houston Street. Gene's on the right, Mary's on the left. I guess these would almost be like selfies today, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
This is the 3rd picture she took. This is Officer McBride, the Dallas Police Motorcycle Unit. He was in the motorcade. He was kind of like leading the group, or he was in the lead escort formation. Look at all these open windows up here.
Probably didn't get enough emulsion on that film there.
I don't think this one had any on it. That's why it's so faded as compared to the other one. And one of the girls, either Gene or Mary, were friends with this guy. I don't know what that means, but that's another story. That's the number 3 photo. Number 4 photo that Mary took, we don't know what happened to it. I've never seen it. She's never seen it. Don't know what happened to it. But this is number 5. This is the actual print that she gave me from the Polaroid. And I've cleaned it up a little bit so you can see what's going on. This is Officer Hargis, Jackson, Bill Newman, President, Mrs. Kennedy. Connolly and his wife are lower in the car. And then you got the driver's assistant, the passenger, in the motorcade or in the limousine, but you can't see the driver, which is kind of strange, but the the assistant, the Kellerman, appears to be holding something up to his face, like a notebook or a book or something. And I'm gonna have to get out. They're driving right into the sun. The visor is up. Why wouldn't you put the visor down? Okay, you didn't. He's got something in front of his face. I don't know what it is, but Kennedy's already been hit. He's already been hit. We don't know if this is the 1st or 2nd or 3rd or 4th or 5th or 8th round of hitting, but he's definitely not sitting upright.
And Brian, that first police officer on the right side, Jackson's behind him, that's Cheney.
That's Cheney, okay. Bill Newman is 1 lane away from the motorcade. They never called him to testify. Why not? Well, that's strange that you wouldn't have that guy talk, but here's Emmett Hudson and the 2 guys are standing upright. The shot's already hit him in the head. There's the steps, there's the fence, there is the retaining wall, there's Zapruder. You can't see Marilyn Sitzman. Remember, this is a Polaroid. The image is only that square anyway. But there's a lot of detail in here. In 1970-something, Jimmy Carter's sister saw this picture in a magazine, and she notified somebody, I don't know the chain of events, it's not important, but she notified somebody who was a photographic expert and said, there's something back here. There's something behind this area here, and there's also something here. Something's above the fence, it's not a tree, there's just something, you can see space above the person or whatever it is there. So they started analyzing it, and over the years, people were finding, it's the Rorschach test, you can see Santa Claus in there if you look hard enough, you squint and turn your head just right, you can see weird things. I don't know, I'm not an expert in photographic interpretation, but I think I see something that doesn't look like it's an environmental issue. When Mary took the original picture, there was nothing wrong with it. She surrendered it to the Dallas Morning News. They took a picture of it, or copied it, or whatever they did to put it in their paper. The FBI contacted Mary and said, we understand you took pictures. Yes, I did. Well, let's see what you got. She let them borrow the picture with the understanding, I'm going to get that back because it's my property. I have copyright of that picture. It's my property. When she gets it back, it had this big old thumbprint on it. Mary didn't do that. Jean didn't do that. The thing was almost pristine. And it came back like that. Now you would think if somebody's trying to do that on purpose, they would have put the thumbprint right over the top of that. Or over the top of this. I don't know. But there's something up there. And Jack White and Gary Mack in the late 80s did an analysis of this. I'm a true believer in Jack White. I mean, I've known him for years. He says he sees something, and that's what he sees. This figure here, with something bright and white in this area. There's somebody here with a, looks like a pointy kind of a soft hat or a hat. And then there's an image or someone here, can't make that out. But it's in this area, right in here. Now I've been down there 75 to 100 times. If I was going to set this up as a tactical operation, I'd put somebody up there. You're almost perpendicular to the target. You've got concealment. You don't have cover, but you have concealment. And you're only 55 yards away from the target. You wouldn't need a scope on a rifle. You could do that with the iron sights. But I think there's something up here. There's a colorized version. I don't know what it is. There's a colorized version of the Mormon photograph with a thumbprint. And there's Jean and, Mary and Brian and Casey. She is a real person. Very unassuming, she just happened to be in a place that she didn't expect nobody expected anything to happen, and she happened to have a camera and click, boom, I got a picture. She was trying to sell that photograph, the original photograph, for $50,000. Then she lowered it to like 25. Nobody bought it. I wish I would have had it, but it's fading over years. Charles Bronson, we've already shown, is not the actor. He was in this position, Maine, Houston, Elm. Got pictures of it turning, simply turned around, got pictures of it coming down the street. There we are. There's Harkness again. Lots of people out there. Open windows, check that out. Open window, open window, open, open. Should have all been shut down like that. There's Tony Glover. How old was she then?
Probably about 11 or 12.
Oh.
Yeah, she's standing on top of the Paris, the concrete wall.
7th grade girl, right?
Turn the corner, got a great view. This is the first, Mr. Bronson had 2 cameras with him. He had a Leica 35mm rangefinder with color Kodachrome and he exposed that. He also had a motion picture film. So you've seen the motion picture film, now you see he apparently put the motion picture camera down and started taking slide shots. Only he has 3 slide shots left. There's a lot of activity in this picture also. I don't know who these people are. This lady is Tony Foster. Thank you. There's the Newmans. Nothing's happened yet because the Newmans are up off the ground. They're standing upright, waiting for their car to come to them. Gene Hill in the red coat, Mary Mormon. I don't know who this is. Charles Brent, the Cuban, dark-complected man, and the man with the umbrella. And you can definitely see that there's space between the bottom of the umbrella and the top of this man's head.
Now notice the vantage point though. From the Zapruder film, you see the umbrella pop up and then you see the Cuban out here. From this vantage point on the other side, you see that the Cuban is way up in front. In fact,
Yeah.
he's in the gutter.
Yeah, and the umbrella man is up at the back of the sidewalk. What's interesting in this photograph is, if you remember the Zapruder film, I'm sure you've seen it a lot of times. From Zapruder's position here, he's shooting the camera this direction. There are people shoulder to shoulder all the way up to about the sign. Remember that? Well, where did those people go? They both can't be recording the same scene. One of them has to be wrong. There are gaps in between these people. There's the that's not the Chisholms, but is that
Yeah, it is.
That's the Chisholms?
That's the Chisholms, yeah.
Okay, they got their African-American couple with their little kid.
So what you're saying is to the left of the umbrella man, to the right of the umbrella man, there's a lot of people.
No, here.
Yeah, there, yeah, there.
It's supposed to be, yes.
Yeah.
They were shoulder to shoulder.
In the photo, but then in the video, they're missing.
No, in the video, they're shoulder to shoulder. In Zapruder's film, they're shoulder to shoulder. In this Bronson slide, there's gaps in
Oh,
between these
okay,
people.
okay.
And in the Zapruder film, if you look at it closely again, don't concentrate on the occupants of the car, but look at the foreground. Nobody's moving. The President of the United States 12 feet from him, and they're all,
Yeah.
I'd be, hey, look over here. Nobody raises their arms up. Why not? I think they were painted in later.
Yeah.
Here's the second shot. Look at this guy. He's still got the umbrella up. I don't know it's not raining. He's the only one in the entire motorcade route that we have pictures of, the guy with good umbrella. I don't get that. James Alkins is now down onto Elm Street. The motorcade is coming to him. And this is the first generation of the original print, the original image from Tri-X film.
And that's a Pulitzer Prize winning
Yeah.
photograph.
There's a lot of stuff that I question in this picture. I'm not saying Mr. Alkins did anything to it, but what's interesting is that you read how the photography people worked in newspapers in this industry back then, is they took the picture. That's their property. They develop it, and they make the prints. They make a print of every picture, and it's up to the editor to find out which one would make a good picture or a good copy. When Alkins got back to the Dallas Morning News, which is like 3 blocks away, he knew he had pictures of something. Somebody grabbed his camera, and his editor said, "Go out to Parkland and see what you can find out there." When he testified, they showed him some pictures that are attributed to him. He goes, "If you say that I took that, then I took it, but I don't remember taking that picture." "Did you take this picture?" "Oh yeah, I remember taking that one, but the other one you showed me, I don't remember where that one came from." So here's the full frame Alkins photograph. Lots of weird stuff going on in this picture, but I just want to look at a couple things. President's car, follow-up car, motorcycle guys. Vice President Lyndon Johnson and Senator Ralph Yarborough were in this car along with their wives. Follow-up car, the Secret Service, that closed sedan, mind you. That door is open already. The left rear door behind the driver is open. An agent got out of the car and was left in Dealey Plaza when the motorcade continued on. I don't know why. Nobody else moved. Nobody else is, multiple shots have been fired here. As you can see in a close-up, Mrs. Kennedy's gloved left hand is holding the president's elbow. But there's something wrong with this whole part right here. It's all, the proportions are all wrong. President Kennedy's head is like this big. But remember in the Norman photograph, we have the visor up on both sides, or at least on the passenger side of the president's car. It's up, but yet this is all dark. The sunlight, they're riding right into the sun. That whole car ought to be lit up. There's no tinting except the eyebrow up on the windshield. That whole area on the inside should be lit up. It's not. There's something wrong with the picture. Man on the fire escape, he's right here. There's an open window right below him. I think that's where a shooter was. Looking right straight down Elm Street. You don't have to deviate. You don't have to change your pitch, your alignment, your elevation. You just make the car will turn, you just point, pull the trigger, it's done. What I have always had a problem with is this is the curb on Elm Street on the south side. North is that direction. We're on the south side. This is Charles Brim. His hands are in normal clapping position like this. Well, look at the shadow on the ground that represents his clapping motion. There's something wrong. That looks like the guy's got his hands over his head and he's clapping, but his hands are in front of his face. The roadway doesn't curve like that on Elm Street. I measured it multiple times. There's something wrong with the picture. And I don't know who the hell this is. Is that supposed to be Mary Moorman and Jean Hill? That's not even a human figure.
And where's Joey?
Well, Joey's further down the road this way, but there's no, I don't know.
So I see what you're saying. You're saying that there's more of a curve there.
Yeah,
Where-
this is a convex curve,
Yeah.
and the actual
It's kind of more
Elm Street
away.
is concave,
Yeah.
it goes inward, not out like that. There's something, the whole picture is wrong. And you touched on just briefly the flag, how it's not flying and it's flat and it's not flying. There's the presidential flag on this car on the left side. The United States flag is on the right side. Clint Hill's jumped on the back of the car and Jackie's already turning her back towards the whole group. So he's not pushing, his story about him pushing her in is either one of two things. Either he's a liar or the film's been messed with. Because all we see is Jackie turning around before he gets to the car, and she's already sitting down when he gets to her. He says, I pushed her back in the car. That's a lie. You didn't push her back in the car, at least that doesn't show that on the film. But the important part of this picture, there's the flag. There's no tassels, there's no ornate crap on the top, or it's just the fringe around the sides, on 3 of the 4 sides, and E pluribus unum flag. In the Alkins photograph,
I gotta tell you this, go back, when I was telling you about the 5th grade class, as I'm showing this picture,
oh yeah,
what,
I thought it was too when I saw it.
yeah, well, one of the kids says, well, what about that dancing bear up there? And I go, what? He goes, that dancing bear right there, what was that doing? This is well before Ted.
That's what I thought it was at first.
I don't know.
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
I
said,
don't
oh my
know.
God.
I don't know what this is not part of the flag. I showed you the flag. I don't know what this is. Brake lights are on. I don't know what this is. Why would somebody take this and conceal? Look how dark that inside of that window is. This is blocking whoever's sitting in that car. Why?
And that car is the lead car.
That's the chief of police driving his own car.
Now, I'm going to bring up something here. I'm not sure if you're going to bring it up, but when I pointed out Cheney was right next to the president. Yeah, Cheney, as soon as the president is shot, he gets his motorcycle and drives right up to the lead car.
Because it's significantly slowed down.
Yeah.
The entire motorcade slowed down.
So he leans into the window and he says, "My God, the president's been shot." And they go, "What do you mean been shot?" He goes, "Hell, he was hit in the face." It blew out the back of his head. He blew his head off. And I'm sitting there going,
Was that an interview or is that on
No.
like loudspeaker?
oh, that's,
He said that to Fred Newcomb, and then he testified to that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I rode up and told the chief that we've been hit. The other thing in this picture, I don't know if you picked it out yet, but I want to show it to you.
there it is by the aerial, right there.
That windshield's been hit.
It's a bullet hole.
Richard Botham, almost the same position as the other guys, but his picture after the motorcades have gone through, that's Hargis right there. He has already run back to his bike. He's already got off. He had time to go up to the fence, looked over the fence, couldn't find anybody, came all the way back down to his bike and is now on his way out of the scene. But the Newmans are still down on the ground, so you know it's not too far after the shots were fired. James Alkins, Tom Cancelleri, there's the Cuban and the umbrella guy. And here comes, I think that's either Corson or McLean. But there's a lot of action going on here, but when some of the guys in the press corps came around the corner, they heard the shots and they see the Newmans laying on the ground. My God, those people have been shot. So they jumped out and started taking pictures of them. Well, they weren't shot, but they took some pictures of them. Art Rickerby was one of the people in the motorcade. He took this great color picture of, it's still going on. There's the Newmans, that's Cancelleri, that's Atkins, there's Alkins, Craven, and these two knuckleheads over here. There's the Chisholms. Mrs. Chisholm is running with her child in her arms.
Now remember, she was out in the street. She ran back, at least according to her testimony. They were out in the street, and then she ran back into this area and discovers that her son's been hit, and then starts running
He
downhill.
had a superficial,
Can you go back one? Okay, so is that the Umbrella Man and Cubans
Yeah.
up there?
right there.
Okay, and so there's a shadow of that sign.
Yeah, so the sun's going this direction.
Yeah.
That sign was gone in a couple weekends, it was taken out. What?
Wait.
Somebody took the sign out. It's gone.
Oh, well then how's the shadow there?
No, a couple weeks after the assassination, that sign was removed. It was taken out of the ground,
Actually, after
after the shooting.
after December, I think, the January.
Somebody took the signs out. Why would they take the sign out? Was it falling apart? It's sheet metal.
Yeah.
Why would they take it away?
So in this picture here,
That sign was there, and that's the sign that Zapruder, his vision was blocked by that sign.
right,
But 2 weeks or so, maybe before the end of the year, somebody, county maintenance or whoever, took that sign away.
okay.
We don't know where it is. Frank Cancelleri, this is the original print of Cancelleri's photograph. He's a professional photographer. Exposure's not really great, but this is the pictures he produced, so we had it cleaned up a little bit, and we have that. And David talked earlier about photographs being manipulated. The Newmans are still on the ground. Alkins, Craven, I can't think of his name. I got it right here. Craven, Atkins, and Alkins, okay. All right, so on Commerce Street, these cars were stopped. There's a civilian standing out there looking, watching the motorcade, because he couldn't go anywhere. There's a guy in the back, looks like he's behind an open bed of a pickup truck. And the rest of the cars are stopped because the traffic couldn't go through. You all see that. He's standing on the passenger side, near the rear wheel of an open bed, what looks like to be a GMC or a Chevy or a Ford pickup. We all agree? In the Zapruder film, that's a flatbed pickup with a cover, and the guy's gone. That's the same place. There's something wrong with it. They both can't be recording the same image and have that difference of a view. There's the Newmans. These people, they thought they'd been shot.
See the mark on the curb there?
Yeah, yeah, there's 3 of them, or 5 of them are right there.
Yeah, actually, we went back in and there's actually 7 of those painted on there, and they were painted on that morning, early in the morning.
I have,
So someone painted those kills on yellows there, are they still there? Did they
Yeah.
stay?
Bits and pieces of them are there, you can see them. Had an interesting observation here, let me,
Well,
Katie basically says,
well, Katie knows everything.
that's true.
Yeah,
She said, the guy that we called what do we call him, the Cuban,
yeah,
she says, just kind of the way he looked, kind of looked like he was from France. Could that have been Jean Swetra?
could be.
Could be. Because we believe that he may not have been a shooter, he may have been the manager of
Yeah,
the assassination, or at
This
least
is-
one of them.
this is WFAA, local Dallas affiliate, CBS or ABC or NBC, I don't remember, it's not important. But the Newmans, Bill Newman was an electrician, Mrs. Newman is a housewife and raising 2 small children. They were there at Love Field, and then they got in their car and hauled butt to get to where they were, and they got to see the president again. But this time they see him get shot in the head. Live television, 45 minutes to an hour or less after the assassination, they both spoke on live television. They're civilians. I mean, they're not going to be able to make up crap. So here's what they said. This is live.
Until our news crew gets back in, we will sort of use this studio as our headquarters. These people, and you will excuse me, I don't want to interrupt you. I'm so sorry because I know that you are so upset, but I would like to talk to you for a minute. It's a little bit awkward, so the camera shots will have to fall as they may. I'm going to stand right here, and maybe somebody can give me a chair while we're doing this. May I have your name, please, sir?
Bill Newman.
And this is Mrs. Newman?
Yes, sir.
And this is
James Clayton.
James, and this is?
Billy.
Billy, tell me what you saw and what you felt. What happened to you?
We just come from Love Field after seeing the president and the first lady, and we were just in front of the triple underpass on Elm Street, and we were at the edge of the curve, getting ready to wave at the president. So
You were down under the viaduct, so to speak, weren't you?
we were halfway in between
On the grass
triple underpass. We were at the curb when the incident happened. But the president's car was some 50 feet still yet
In front of you.
in front of us coming towards us, and we heard the first shot, and the president, I don't know who was hit first, but the president jumped up in his seat, and I thought it scared him. I thought it was a firecracker because he looked, fear. And then as the car got directly in front of us, well, a gunshot apparently from behind us hit the president in the side of the temple.
Do you think the first gunshot came from behind you, too?
I think it came from the same location. Apparently back up on the mall. I don't know what you call it.
For the benefit of nomenclature, all of you folks have gone out under the viaduct, and as you turn, going under the viaduct on the left-hand side, there's some grass. Do you think the shot came from up on top of the viaduct toward the president? Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Not on the viaduct itself, but up on top of the hill, a
On the
little
hill
mound
there.
of ground there, the garden.
How far away would you say that is from where the president was? A couple of 300 yards, something like that?
Well, I have no idea because I didn't see where the gunshot come from. We were looking directly at the president when he was hit, and he was more or less directly in front of us, and we didn't realize what happened until we seen the side of his head whenever the bullet hit him in the head.
Did you see the blood
I've
coming
seen
from the
that.
president's head?
Yes, sir. We seen that. I seen that. I don't know if my wife did. But I seen that.
Did
Oh,
you?
yes, sir. It was awful.
It is
Yeah.
awful.
That's all.
What kind of work do you do, sir?
I'm a construction worker, electrician.
Is this the first time that you have seen a president of the United States? Did you see him when he was here before in 1961?
No, sir. No, sir.
Your housewife
Yes, sir.
took the day off to come downtown and see the president.
Yes, sir, we did. We wanted our children to see it.
Were you in the line of fire? I remember vividly whenever I walked over and looked over the banister there and saw across the street that you were down on the ground so that to keep out of the line of fire. What was the first thought that struck your mind?
Oh, I thought it was a firecracker, and I saw the blood, and I had the baby, and I just ran, and I got on top of him and laid on the grass. I was it just scared me. It was terrible.
Did you see anyone else hit besides the...
Governor Conley
Conley
was
hit.
kind
Oh,
of
was he?
turned
He was
to the side and he
grabbing his
grabbed
stomach.
his stomach.
Can't get any more clear than that.
That's live. As Terry said, it's
He
live.
doesn't, he doesn't, there's not enough time for him to make up anything. And why would he make it up? He didn't. He said, this is what I saw, and that's what I knew.
You know, I think, you know, and when Gail is talking about she saw the president like he jumped up. Well, he's waving and all of a sudden he's hit. And as he comes up, it looks like he's jumping up.
Because he
Yeah.
kind of raised his arms.
Yeah.
Here's some of the rest of the press people. They're just now coming through the scene.
Taking
here.
the movie to him. Absolutely.
And we're almost to the last of our pictures. This is a photograph taken by Associated Press. I don't know if he's Associated Press, he's a professional photographer, newsman. Took this picture from right just east of the Stemmons Freeway where they're coming towards to get on the ramp. These three motorcycle officers don't even have a clue what happened behind them. But they're going to find out real quick because that limousine is picking up speed, and they're going to basically go 90 miles an hour to the hospital down Stemmons Freeway. The guy in the middle, he's got his left hand off the clutch. He's just kind of, nice day for a motorcade, yeah, isn't it great? They didn't know that there was something happening behind them.
You want to tell them about your old charter
Yeah.
sign?
For those of you who've ever heard of Gerald Posner, he wrote a book several years ago called Case Closed, and I beg to differ with that. He said that our witness, Ed Hoffman, could not have seen what he saw because of what do you call it?
Well, he did call it the old charter.
No, he called it another bourbon.
Cutter.
Cuddy Sark.
Cuddy Sark sign.
He said because of the Cuddy Sark sign. Well, this picture was in the public domain from '63 until 1993 when he wrote this book, and yet he calls it Cuddy Sark billboard. Well, if he can't get that right, maybe some of his research methods are not quite online with that.
And that sign is almost level with the top of that
Yeah,
railroad bridge.
yeah, it's almost, yeah, it is almost at the top of it.
And Ed is going to be elevated on the other bridge.
And
almost, yeah.
Ed's way over here looking this direction. This thing isn't even in his line of sight. All right, so now we're stepping on the gas and we're rolling towards Stemmons Freeway. We're on Stemmons now, going towards Parkland because now the chief of police is radioed in because the officer rolled up to him and said, hey, we just got hit. And so the chief of police gets on the microphone and tell Parkland to stand by. We're on our way. The president may have been hit. This is an important picture because it corroborates a lot of things, but you can see all these cars were parked on the highway, on the curb, or on the shoulder, watching the motorcade come through. And in the background, you see Clint Hill on the back of the limousine. Now he's got sunglasses on. Okay. In the follow-up car, there appears to be, we go back one, there appears to be somebody raised a rifle up, and you can see the barrel right there, and there's the rifle. There's the rifle. It's an AR-15. Officer, or Special Agent Kenny, sorry, not Kenny.
George Hickey.
Hickey, thank you. Pulls up an AR-15. He's gonna, I don't know what he's gonna shoot at. This is an important picture because there's something wrong with this picture. This is a photograph taken by a civilian as the car sped by at 95,000 miles an hour. Clint Hill's on the back of the car and he doesn't have his sunglasses on. So he put his sunglasses on between here and there. I don't know how he would have done that if he's hanging on for dear life with no handholds to hold him on and he's hanging on the trunk of the car. But now he's got to have sunglasses on. I don't know whose foot that is. I have no idea. Can't be his. Nobody's contorted like that. And it's not President Kennedy's foot. How do I know that? Because the man had 3/5 of his brain blown out. He has no muscle control. He has no ability to rise up or breathe or look or hear or think. So they can't be President Kennedy's shoe. And it's not Clint Hill's shoe. It's not Jackie's shoe. So whose is it? Anybody have a guess? I know. I think there was 2 people on the back of that car, but one of them has been removed photographically. You know, that's a big pill to swallow. But the agents, the officers in the motorcade, the motorcycle officers in the motorcade said 2 agents got on the back of that car when it left Dealey Plaza. But we only see pictures of 1. And that's not Clint Hill's shoe. It's not Jackie's shoe. It's not Governor Connolly's shoe. It's not the president's shoe. I believe it's the shoe of somebody laying on top of the president and Mrs. Kennedy. I don't know who it is.
Like,
Like another agent.
trying to protect him again, or, so it's,
I think 2 agents got off the car in Dealey Plaza, ran up to the car as it was stopped, and jumped in the car, and then it took off. Let's take a break.